Now, the ANC's National Executive Committee had to defer its special NEC meeting after the party's first convened a working committee meeting. It discussed the differing positions of committee members on the Secretary-General's draft report that will be presented to the elective conference in December. Another key issue was the future of the recently elected ANC PEC in the Eastern Cape. This as different factions within the party are pushing for their interests ahead of the December elective conference. Now, for some analysis, we're joined by political analyst Mathekga. Ralph, thank you very much indeed for your time. You know, it's interesting times to be in South Africa, isn't it? And it was indeed a crucial NEC meeting. How crucial was it?
It was very important. I mean, in the sense that this is the last NEC before the elective conference of the party. It is a big event in about 3 or so weeks in December. And I think the main role of this NEC meeting should have been to actually outline the state of readiness within the party about how branches are ready, the nomination processes. And of course, there would be glitches here and there. But the problem is that now as we speak, there seems to be more glitches than smooth areas within the ANC. And we know, we've seen across provinces, across regions, that there are sharp differences about the processes leading to this elective conference. So there is a great deal of pressure. The ANC could not deal with a lot of internal problems, so they've been pushed to this NEC, and it appears that some of the problems might not be resolved and they might be pushed further into the conference itself.
Let's look at, you're talking about the branch nomination process, the lead up to this conference. What's your view on it thus far? I mean, we've seen, for instance, in KwaZulu-Natal, they're sending the largest delegation to the national conference. They had about, well, the PEC, the leaders there saying they had about 30 disputes. But the people that are supporting Cyril Ramaphosa say that number is actually around 80 disputes. Talk to us about generally the process, the branch nomination process. How's it been for you?
The main issue with the branch nomination process, there has been serious allegations of infiltration of the branches. Reports have come out saying that some of the senior leaders are trying to actually manipulate the branches. And I think this is where the problem is. How do you distinguish genuine lobbying of the branches versus maybe undue or infiltration or unnecessary domination of the branches by certain factions? I don't think there is anything wrong with lobbying. It just has to be done openly. People have to present their case and say that this is the person that might need to be nominated for this and that. And I think that has to be done openly. But as we speak now, we've seen in KZN a dispute regarding that. And the problem is that even as to what amounts to dispute, it seems as if it depends on who you ask. Certain factions will declare an area that there is a dispute because maybe the nomination is not what they like, and the others as well do the same. So it's about the level of mistrust within the ANC. If I don't agree with the processes, I might also declare a dispute as well. But if I think that the process went my way, I might actually even say that there is no cause, there is no grounding for dispute. This is where the problem is. And I wonder really if members of the ANC seem not to respect their own internal processes, and they seem not to trust that their internal processes can actually be fair and open. How are they going to elect a leader in the conference, the leader that they are going to then present to the nation subsequently? It makes it very difficult to imagine how exactly will a credible leader come out of a process that has been so disputed by members themselves.
The fact that the ANC had to defer its NEC meeting, is that significant? How do you read that?
I'm not so much surprised about the reason that have been given for this deference, because if you look at the role of the Secretary General, the role of the Secretary General is an extremely powerful position. Actually, I see the Secretary General of the party as the CEO of branches and the party. You manage the party, you look at the branches as to whether they are in good standing, those that have been audited. That is a very powerful tool when it comes to influencing who goes to the conference. If you are not being trusted as the Secretary General, there might be allegations that those branches that you say that you say they are in order are the ones that seem to support your faction and so forth. That is what Mr. Mantashe finds himself in. It is just the tradition of the manner in which the ANC structured that the role of the Secretary General is very, very powerful. And actually, the Secretary General can make or break the conference.
I'm sure you'd love to be a fly in the wall in that NEC meeting, isn't it? I mean, What sort of atmosphere do you see in those rooms? I mean, normally these NEC meetings are pretty tense, isn't it? Do you think there's a different atmosphere this time around with the looming elective conference?
It is just the intensity that is building. I mean, if you look at the NEC, the issues they've dealt with in the past, they've been divided on many issues. They've been divided on leadership. They've been divided on what to do in KZN. Now divided on what to do in a disputed PEC in the Eastern Cape. So the only difference now, it is the escalation, because the consequences are too high. The stakes are too high. They're looking into the conference. And I think if I were to actually characterize the NEC by one word, I will say mistrust, mistrust and mistrust.
We have no less than 7 presidential hopefuls vying for the top position. This large number, how do you read this?
It is democratic. Let the people raise their hand. Let it be done openly and so forth. But what it also means as well is that the front runners in this campaign have not actually been able to consolidate their positions. I mean, if you have, we have got about 2 front runners. Now we've got Cyril Ramaphosa, we've got Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini-Zuma. And my view is that the reason why you are seeing so many hands being raised, you are seeing other people saying that look our way, we are also a candidate, is because the front runners are not so strong. They are not able to actually consolidate their position. So it appears that it is anyone's game, because actually both front runners are, in my view, the weakest front runners to have ever actually dominated the elective conference of the ANC, or to be a candidate in the elective conference of the ANC.
The alliance partners also chipping in. Yesterday, the Secretary General for the SACP, Bladen Zamande, took a swipe at the ruling party, saying that, accusing it of acting like a big brother of the alliance. How do you read these utterances ahead of the elective conference?
The alliance is also trying to push for their own agenda. I mean, the ANC is very vulnerable. It is very weak at this point because of the internal divisions. And when you are weak as an organization, the first people to prey on you will certainly be some of your partners within that. And I think that what the SACP is doing, they are disgruntled with what is happening within the ANC, but they want a say about how the elective conference ought to turn out. They've been very clear as to the candidate that they prefer within this. I don't think that is actually a wise thing. They get so much involved and bogged down within the ANC's internal process to a point where they no longer exist independently from the ANC. I mean, we look at the current leadership of the ANC, the SACP should take responsibility that they've played a bigger role, but now they've taken a different position. I wonder who will actually take them seriously, because it appears that when they are upset with the alliance, they want to move out and they want a favorable leader. When the favorable leader comes, they are quiet for a while. For me, that does not amount to talking about the structure and the terms of involvement in the alliance. They need to take a step back, extricate themselves from internal problems of the ANC, and then confront the ANC, or maybe have a conversation with the ANC about their terms of involvement within the alliance, irrespective of who is the leader of the ANC. They need to be very firm and resolute on that, but they are not. They're getting so much compromise and involved in the internal wrangles. It appears to me that the alliance actually, COSATU and the SACP, they carry themselves as just a desk within the tripartite alliance. It undermines them, the manner in which they get involved.
Ralph, I wish we could talk a bit more, but we run out of time. Thank you very much for your insights, great insights there. Ralph Mathekga is a political analyst. It's 6:44. Let's take a bit of a break. This is Morning Live. A very good morning to you.